Hey friends, if you want to watch the popular movie A Charlie Brown Christmas in English, make sure to hit the like button on this video. When you're new to our channel, make sure to subscribe. Friends, in today's video, we will be discussing a film titled A Charlie Brown Christmas. In today's video, I will discuss the plot of this film, where it can be viewed, and share all the fascinating details about it. I will also provide you with the details of where you can watch this movie, whether on an OTT platform or a satellite channel. Additionally, we will delve into the technical department, music department, pre-production, filming, post-production, budget, and box office collection of this film. We will also discuss the plot of this movie, and I will provide a brief overview of the film's storyline. In addition to that, we will also cover the details of the movie, plot, cast, performances by the actors, and the roles they portrayed. Therefore, I encourage my friends to watch the entire video, so let's begin the video. Movie plot. A Charlie Brown Christmas is a 1965 animated television special. It is the first TV special based on the comic strip Peanuts by Charles M. Schulz and features the voices of Peter Robbins, Christopher Shea, Kathy Steinberg, Tracy Stratford, and Bill Melendez. Produced by Lee Mendelson and directed by Melendez, the program made its debut on the CBS television network on December 9, 1965. In the special, Charlie Brown, Robbins, finds himself depressed despite the onset of the cheerful holiday season. After Lucy Van Pelt, Stratford, suggests he direct a neighborhood Christmas play, his best efforts are ignored and mocked by his peers when he chooses a puny Christmas tree as a centerpiece. After the comic strip's debut in 1950, Peanuts had become a worldwide phenomenon by the mid-1960s. The special was commissioned and sponsored by the Coca-Cola Company and was written over a period of several weeks and produced on a small budget in 6 months. In casting the characters, the producers took an unconventional route, hiring child actors. The program's soundtrack was similarly unorthodox, featuring a jazz score by pianist Vince Guaraldi. Its lack of a laugh track, a staple in U.S. television animation in this period, in addition to its tone, pacing, music, and animation, led both the producers and the network to predict the project would be a disaster. However, contrary to their collective apprehension, A Charlie Brown Christmas received high ratings and acclaim from critics. It received an Emmy and a Peabody Award, and became an annual presentation in the United States, airing on broadcast television during the Christmas season for 56 years before becoming exclusively available on Apple TV Plus streaming service. Its success paved the way for a series of Peanuts television specials and films. Its jazz soundtrack achieved commercial success, selling 5 million copies in the U.S. Live theatrical versions of A Charlie Brown Christmas have been staged. On their way to join their friends ice skating on a frozen pond, Charlie Brown confesses to Linus Van Pelt that, despite all the things he likes about the Christmas season, he is still depressed. After Linus' reproach and a put-down from Violet, he visits Lucy Van Pelt's psychiatric booth and tells her his problem. She suggests that he direct the group's annual Christmas play to get involved, and he accepts. Charlie Brown becomes even more discouraged by his observations of Christmas commercialization as he heads for the rehearsal. Lucy laments over not receiving real estate for Christmas. Snoopy decorates his doghouse for a neighborhood lights and display contest, and Charlie Brown's younger sister Sally asks him to write a greedy letter to Santa Claus. At the rehearsal, Charlie Brown finds a play fit for the 1960s with dancing, lively music, an uncooperative cast, and a Christmas queen, Lucy. Unable to control the cast, Charlie Brown decides the play needs a more proper mood and recommends a Christmas tree. Lucy suggests a big, pink aluminum Christmas tree, then sends him and Linus to get one. At the tree lot, Charlie Brown picks the only real tree there, a small sapling. Linus questions his choice, but Charlie Brown believes that once decorated, it will be perfect. Upon their return, Lucy, Violet, Patty, and Frida scorn him and the tree and walk away laughing. Crestfallen, Charlie Brown loudly asks if anyone knows what Christmas is all about. Linus says he does, walks to center stage, asks for a spotlight, drops his security blanket, recites the King James Version of the Annunciation to the shepherds, picks up his blanket, returns and says, "That's what Christmas is all about." Charlie Brown, realizing that he does not have to let commercialism ruin his own Christmas, Charlie Brown takes the tree home to decorate it and show the others that it will work in the play. The others realize that they were too hard on Charlie Brown and quietly follow him after listening to Linus' speech. He stops at Snoop's doghouse, which had won the lights and display contest, and hangs a large red Christmas ball on his tree. The ornament's weight causes the tiny tree to bend to the ground. Believing he has killed the tree, Charlie Brown, dejected, walks away. The others arrive at Snoopy's doghouse, and as they all start to see its potential, Linus gently uprights the drooping tree and wraps his blanket around its base to give it some support. After the others give the tree a makeover using more decorations from the doghouse, even Lucy concedes to Charlie Brown's choice. The kids then start humming, "Hark, the herald angels sing." Hearing them, Charlie Brown returns to see that the sapling is now a fully decorated Christmas tree. All the kids shout, "Merry Christmas, Charlie Brown," and then sing "Hark," with Charlie Brown joining in as snow begins to fall. Cast: Peter Robbins as Charlie Brown, Christopher Shea as Linus Van Pell, Tracy Stratford as Lucy Van Pell, Kathy Steinberg as Sally Brown, Chris Doran as Schroeder and Shermie, Jeffrey Orstian as Pigpen, Sally Dreyer as Violet, and Altieri as Frida, Bill Melendez as Snoopy, Karen Mendelsohn as Patty. Choral vocals: members of the Children's Choir of St. Paul's Episcopal Church, San Rafael, California, directed by Robert Barry Minnie. The choir was recognized for their contribution to this work at a 40-year anniversary at the Schulz Museum in Santa Rosa. The choir was also featured on the Vince Guaraldi recording at Grace Cathedral. By the early 1960s, Charles M. Schulz's comic strip Peanuts had gained enormous popularity. Television producer Lee Mendelsohn acknowledged the strip's cultural impression and had an idea for a documentary on its success, phoning Schulz to propose the idea. Schulz, an avid baseball fan, recognized Mendelsohn from his documentary on ballplayer Willie Mays, A Man Named Mays, and invited him to his home in Sebastopol, California, to discuss the project. Their meeting was cordial, with the plan to produce a half-hour documentary set. Mendelsohn wanted to feature roughly 1 or 2 minutes of animation, and Schulz suggested animator Bill Melendez, with whom he collaborated some years before on a spot for the Ford Motor Company. Mendelsohn later stated that he was drawn to doing an animated Charlie Brown after working on A Man Named Mays, noting that Mays was arguably the best baseball player of all time, while Charlie Brown, in a running gag in the strips, was one of the worst, making him a natural follow-up subject to his previous work. Despite the popularity of the strip and acclaim from advertisers, networks were not interested in the special. By April 1965, Time featured the Peanuts gang on its magazine cover, prompting a call from John Allen of the New York-based McCann Erickson agency. Mendelsohn imagined he would sell his documentary, and blindly agreed to Allen's proposal: an animated half-hour Peanuts Christmas special. The Coca-Cola Company was looking for a special to sponsor during the holiday season. The bad news is that today is Wednesday and they'll need an outline in Atlanta by Monday, Allen remarked to Mendelsohn. He quickly contacted Schulz, and the two got to work with plans for a Peanuts Christmas special. The duo prepared an outline for the Coca-Cola executives in less than 1 day, and Mendelsohn would later recall that the bulk of ideas came from Schulz, whose ideas flowed non-stop. According to Mendelsohn, their pitch to Coca-Cola consisted of winter scenes, a school play, a scene to be read from the Bible, and a soundtrack combining jazz and traditional music. The outline did not change over the course of its production. As Allen was in Europe, the duo received no feedback on their pitch for several days. When Allen got in touch with them, he informed them that Coca-Cola wanted to buy the special, but also wanted it for an early December broadcast, giving the duo just 6 months to scramble together a team to produce the special. Mendelsohn assured him, without complete confidence in his statements, that this would be no problem. Following this, a Charlie Brown Christmas entered production, and was completed just 10 days shy of its national broadcast premiere. Main goal for a Peanuts-based Christmas special was to focus on the true meaning of Christmas. He desired to juxtapose this theme with interspersed shots of snow and ice skating, perhaps inspired by his own childhood growing up in St. Paul, Minnesota. He also created the idea for the school play and mixing jazz with traditional Christmas carols. Schulz was adamant about Linus' reading of the Bible, despite Mendelssohn and Melendez's concerns that religion was a controversial topic, especially on television. Melendez recalled Schulz turned to him and remarked, "Estimation proved accurate," and in the 1960s, fewer than 9% of television Christmas episodes contained a substantive reference to religion, according to university researcher Stephen Lind. Schulz's faith in the Bible stemmed from his Midwest background and religious and historical studies. As such, aspects of religion would be a topic of study throughout his life. According to a 2015 spiritual biography, Schulz's religion was personal and complex, and would be integrated in a number of his programs. The program script has been described as bare bones, and was completed in only a few weeks. In the days following the special sale to Coca-Cola, Mendelssohn and animator Bill Melendez met with Schulz in his home to expand upon the ideas promised in the pitch. Mendelssohn remembered that on the previous Christmas day he and his spouse had read Hans Christian Andersen's The Fir Tree to their children. Schulz countered with the idea that there be a tree with the spirit of lead character Charlie Brown. They spoke at length about creating an official theme that was neither jazz nor traditional to open the program. Schulz wanted a part of the special to feature the character of Schroeder performing Beethoven, and Mendelssohn combined this with the inclusion of Vince Guaraldi's Linus and Lucy number. Schulz penned the script for A Charlie Brown Christmas, with Melendez plotting out the animation via a storyboard. His storyboard contained 6 panels for each shot, spanning a combined 80 or so pages. Mendelssohn also suggested they employ a laugh track, a staple of television animation, but Schulz rejected this idea immediately. Up until then, many, if not all, animated shows had laugh tracks, said Mendelssohn. As we were discussing how we would handle our special, I said very casually, "I assume we'll have a laugh track." It was a statement, not a question. Sparky just got up and quietly walked out of the room. We looked at each other. Then Bill said, "Well, I guess we won't have a laugh track." Sparky came back in the room, and we went on with the meeting as if the subject had never come up. Schulz felt strongly that the audience at home should not be instructed when to laugh. In casting the silent comic strip characters of Peanuts, the trio pulled from their personalities. Lead character Charlie Brown's voice was decided to be downbeat and nondescript, while Lucy should be bold and forthright. Linus' voice, it was decided, would combine sophistication with childlike innocence. Mendelssohn recognized that the character of Snoopy was the strip's most popular character who seemed to seize the best jokes, but realized they could not cast a voice for the cartoon dog. In the process, we gained a veritable canine Harpo Marx, Mendelssohn later wrote. Melendez suggested he provide gibberish for Snoopy's mutterings, and simply speed up the tape to prevent viewers from knowing. There are no adult characters in the strip or in this special. Later specials would introduce an off-screen teacher. Her lines are eschewed for the sound of a muted trombone, suggested by Guaraldi, as the team behind the specials found it humorous. With this in mind, the trio set out to cast the characters, which proved to be a daunting process. Casting for Charlie Brown proved most difficult, as it required both good acting skills, but also the ability to appear nonchalant. The producers picked 8-year-old Peter Robbins, already known for his roles spanning television, film, and advertisements. Robbins considered Charlie Brown to be one of his favorite characters, and despite leaving acting as an adult, he considered his time in the role a highlight of his life. His godmother, Hollywood agent Hazel McMillan, discovered Christopher Shea, who would become Linus in the special. His slight lisp, according to Mendelssohn, gave him a youthful sweetness, while his emotional script reading gave him power and authority as well. Tracy Stratford played the role of Lucy, with the creators being impressed by her attitude and professionalism. Kathy Steinberg was the youngest of the performers, just 6 years old at the time of recording. Too young to read, the producers had to give her one line at a time to recite. Robbins remembered Melendez did this for him as well, joking that he also mistakenly copied his Latino accent. Mendelssohn desired to have non-actors, not Hollywood kids, perform on the special, and he sent tape recorders home with his employees for their children to audition. Much of the background cast came from Mendelssohn's home neighborhood in Northern California. According to Robbins, the children viewed the script's sophisticated dialogue as edgy, finding several words and phrases, among them Eastern Syndicate, difficult to pronounce. He recalled the recording sessions as chaotic, with excited children running rampant. Nevertheless, the recording of A Charlie Brown Christmas was completed in one day. Jefferson Airplane was recording next door and came over to obtain the children's autographs. Following the special's broadcast, the children became wildly popular in their respective elementary schools. Robbins recalled groups approaching him asking him to recite lines of dialogue. Animation for A Charlie Brown Christmas was created by Bill Melendez Productions. Mendelsohn had no idea whether or not completing a half-hour's worth of animation would be possible given the production's 6-month schedule, but Melendez confirmed its feasibility. In actuality, animation was only completed in the final 4 months of production. CBS initially wanted an hour's worth of animation, but Melendez talked them down to a half-hour special, believing an hour of television animation was too much. Having never worked on a half-hour special before, Melendez phoned William Hanna of Hanna-Barbera for advice, but Hanna declined to give any. CBS gave a budget of $76,000 to produce the show, and it went $20,000 over budget. The first step in creating the animation was to make a pencil drawing, afterwards inking and painting the drawing onto a cell. The cell was then placed onto a painted background. There are 13,000 drawings in the special, with 12 frames per second to create the illusion of movement. Melendez had previously worked for Warner Brothers and Disney, and working on Peanuts-related material gave him a chance to animate a truly flat cartoon design. The movement of Schulz's characters, particularly the Peanuts gang, was limited. The character of Snoopy, however, proved the exception to the rule. "He can do anything, move and dance, and he's very easy to animate," said Melendez. Schulz had envisioned the special as essentially talking heads reciting the script. Animator Bill Littlejohn recalled meeting resistance from Schulz when he and Melendez designed the sequence of Snoopy dancing on Schroeder's piano, as Schulz was concerned it distracted too much from the plot. The soundtrack to A Charlie Brown Christmas is an unorthodox mix of traditional Christmas music and jazz. The jazz portions were created by the Vince Guaraldi Trio. Producer Lee Mendelsohn, a fan of jazz, heard Guaraldi's crossover hit, "Cast Your Fate to the Wind," on the radio not long after completion of his documentary Charlie Brown and Charles Schulz, and contacted the musician to produce music for the special. Guaraldi composed the music for the project, creating an entire piece, Linus and Lucy, to serve as the theme. When Coca-Cola commissioned A Charlie Brown Christmas in spring 1965, Guaraldi returned to write the music. The first instrumentals for the special were recorded by Guaraldi at Glendale, California's Whitney studio with bassist Monty Budwig and drummer Colin Bailey. Recycling Linus and Lucy from the earlier special, Guaraldi completed 2 new originals for the special, Skating and Christmas Time is Here. In the weeks preceding the premiere, Mendelsohn encountered trouble finding a lyricist for Guaraldi's instrumental intro, and penned Christmas Time is Here in about 15 minutes on the back of an envelope. The special opens and closes with a choir of children, culled from St. Paul's Episcopal Church in San Rafael, California, performing Christmas Time is Here and Hark, the Herald Angels Sing. One of the singers, Candace Hackett-Shively, went on to become an elementary school teacher and sent a letter of gratitude to Schulz after he announced his retirement in 2000. In the letter, she recalls recording the choir at Fantasy Studios and going out for ice cream afterwards, while also saying she tells the story to her grade schoolers each holiday season. The recording sessions were conducted in late autumn 1965 and were cut in 3 separate sessions over 2 weeks. They often ran late into the night, resulting in angry parents, some who forbade their children from returning. Consequently, numerous new children were present at each session. The children were directed by Barry Minnie, who demanded perfection from the choir. Mendelsohn and Guaraldi disagreed, desiring the kids to sound like kids. They used a slightly off-key version of Hark, the Herald Angels Sing in the final cut. Children were paid $5 for their participation. In addition, the children recorded dialogue for the special's final scene, in which the crowd of kids shout, "Merry Christmas, Charlie Brown." The soundtrack for the special was recorded during these sessions, with decisions regarding timing and phrasing determined quickly. Guaraldi brought in bassist Fred Marshall and drummer Jerry Granelli to record the music, and spent time later re-recording earlier tracks, including covers of The Christmas Song and Greensleeves. The eventual LP release credited Guaraldi solely, neglecting to mention the other musicians. Guaraldi was notorious for never keeping records of his session players. Nearly 3 decades later, in an effort to resolve the matter, Fantasy surmised that the recordings with Budwig and Bailey were employed in the special, while Marshall and Granelli recorded the album. Despite this, other individuals have come forward claiming to have recorded the special's music. Bassists Eugene Firth and drummers Paul Distel and Benny Barth. Firth and Distel are listed as performers on a studio session report Guaraldi filed for the American Federation of Musicians. A Charlie Brown Christmas was voted into the Grammy Hall of Fame in 2007 and added to the Library of Congress's National Recording Registry list of culturally, historically, or aesthetically important American sound recordings in 2012. I have always felt that one of the key elements that made that show was the music, said Mendelssohn in 2010. It gave it a contemporary sound that appealed to all ages. Although Vince had never scored anything else, and although I was basically a documentary filmmaker at the time, we started to work together on the cues because we both loved jazz and we both played the piano. So he would bring in the material for each scene and we would go over it scene by scene. Most of the time, the music worked perfectly, but there were times we would either not use something or use it somewhere else. We went through the same process on all 16 shows. Although there was always some leftover music, most of the time what he wrote and performed is what went on the air. All involved believed the special would be a disaster. Melendez first saw the completed animation at a showing in a theater in the days before its premiere. Turning to his crew of animators and remarking, "My golly, we've killed it," Melendez was embarrassed, but one of the animators, Ed Levitt, was more positive regarding the special, telling him it was the best special ever. Make this show is going to run for 100 years. Mendelssohn was similar in his assumptions of the show's quality, and when he showed the film to network executives in New York, their opinions were also negative. Their complaints included the show's slow pace, the music not fitting, and the animation too simple. "I really believed, if it hadn't been scheduled for the following week, there's no way they were going to broadcast that show," Mendelssohn later said. Executives had invited television critic Richard Bergheim of Time to view the special and debated whether showing it to him would be a good idea. His review, printed the following week, was positive, praising the special as unpretentious and writing that, "A Charlie Brown Christmas is one child's special this season that bears repeating." The program premiered on CBS on December 9, 1965, at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, preempting the Munsters, and was viewed by 45% of those watching television that evening, with the number of homes watching the special an estimated 15,490,000, placing it at number 2 in the ratings, behind Bonanza on NBC. The special received critical acclaim. The Hollywood Reporter deemed the show delightfully novel and amusing, while the Weekly Variety dubbed it fascinating and haunting. Bob Williams of the New York Post praised the very neat transition from comic page to screen, while Lawrence Loron of the Washington Post declared that natural-born loser Charlie Brown finally turned up a real winner last night. Harriet Van Horn of the New York World Telegram hailed the scene in which Linus recites scripture, commenting, "Linus' reading of the story of the Nativity was, quite simply, the dramatic highlight of the season." Harry Harris of the Philadelphia Inquirer called the program a Yule classic generated quiet warmth and amusement, and Terence O'Flaherty of the San Francisco Chronicle wrote, "Charlie Brown was a gem of a television show." Ben Gross of the New York Daily News praised the special's charm and good taste, while Rick Dubrow of United Press International predicted, "The Peanuts characters last night staked out a claim to a major television future." The film has an aggregated review score of 86% based on 21 reviews on Rotten Tomatoes. Of the 3 negative reviews, 2 come from the same 2020 episode of Medium Popcorn, a podcast in which both hosts gave the special a 1 out of 5 stars review. The third is a 2005 2 out of 5 star review from Emmanuel Levy that is no longer available. The show's positive reviews were highlighted with an ad in trade magazines. One thanked Coca-Cola, CBS, United Features Syndicate, and the show's viewers. Fantasy released the special's soundtrack the first week of December 1965, coinciding with the special's airdate. United Features Syndicate pushed hard to promote the special, while Word Publishing issued a hardcover adaptation of the special. CBS promptly ordered 4 additional Peanuts specials. A Charlie Brown Christmas was awarded the Emmy Award for Outstanding Children's Program in 1966. making it the second animated TV program to win that award after Hanna-Barbera's The Huckleberry Hound Show. "Charlie Brown is not used to winning, so we thank you," Schulz joked. When the special was aired for a second time in December 1966, it once again ranked number 2 in the ratings, and again behind only Bonanza in 1970. A viewer survey by Clark Williamson ranked the special as the best Christmas special to air that year. In 2022, an internal poll of writers at Fatherly ranked the special at 62 in a list of the 100 greatest family-friendly films of all time, one of only 2 productions made specifically for television to make the list, the other being the 1966 version of How the Grinch Stole Christmas. In its summary, the writers noted that the special's technical flaws are what makes a Charlie Brown Christmas feel distinct and special rather than generic, and that its low-budget feel fit the theme of the story. The special was originally broadcast on CBS in 1965 and rerun each year from 1966 until 2000. The original broadcasts included references to the sponsor, Coca-Cola. Because of Dolly Madison's eventual co-sponsorship of the series, as well as subsequent FCC laws mandating the separation of commercial material from the actual program material, subsequent broadcasts and home media releases removed all references to Coca-Cola products. Broadcasts of the special in later years also had some scenes, animation, and sound effects redone for correction. Snoopy's dog bowl was repainted red instead of white. Lucy now makes a whirling noise when scared out of her psychiatric booth. New animation was placed in scenes where the children dance on stage after the first time to avoid repetition. Music was added in the background of the rehearsal scenes, and Snoopy no longer sings like a human in the final carol, amongst others. Removed from some subsequent broadcasts is a scene in which Linus throws a snowball at a tin can using his blanket. For several years, it was rumored the can was a Coca-Cola can. However, a recently obtained copy of the original print disproves this rumor, showing the can was always a generic tin can. Beginning with the 2001 holiday season, ABC held rights to the special. On December 6, 2001, a half-hour documentary on the special titled The Making of A Charlie Brown Christmas, hosted by Whoopi Goldberg, aired on ABC. This documentary has been released as a special feature on the DVD and Blu-ray editions of the special. In subsequent years, to allow the special in an hour timeslot to be broadcast uncut for time, the animated vignette collection, Charlie Brown's Christmas Tales, is broadcast in the remaining time for that hour. The show's 40th anniversary broadcast on December 6, 2005, had the highest ratings in its time slot. The 50th anniversary broadcast aired on November 30, 2015, and it featured a full 2-hour time slot that was padded by a special, It's Your 50th Christmas, Charlie Brown, which was hosted by Kristen Bell and featured musical performances by Kristen Chenoweth, Matthew Morrison, Sarah McLachlan, Boyz II Men, Pentatonix, David Benoit, and the All-American Boys Chorus. 49. It also included documentary features. After 18 consecutive years of being broadcast on the network, the special aired on ABC for the last time on December 17, 2019, at 8 p.m. Eastern Time/Pacific Time. In October 2020, Apple TV Plus acquired exclusive rights to all Peanuts-related media. Under the terms of the agreement, Apple TV Plus must make a Charlie Brown Christmas and 2 other holiday specials. It's The Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, and A Charlie Brown Thanksgiving, available for free on the platform during a 3-day window. The window for A Charlie Brown Christmas was from December 11th to 13th, 2020. And in 2022, it was from December 22nd through December 25th. Subscribers to Apple TV Plus have a broader window to watch the specials. After mounting criticism over Apple's decision to remove the Peanuts specials from free television, the company announced a deal with PBS to resume the annual broadcast tradition. In accordance with most PBS member stations' non-commercial educational licenses, the special was presented on PBS without commercial interruption, with an underwriting message from Apple being the only advertising. PBS, Apple, and WildBrain, the rights holder to the Peanuts television library, announced they had renewed the arrangement in October 2021. PBS did not acquire the broadcast rights for the Peanuts specials in 2022, ending a 57-year run on broadcast television. When Charlie Brown complains about the overwhelming materialism that he sees amongst everyone during the Christmas season, Lucy suggests that he become director of the school Christmas pageant. Charlie Brown accepts, but it proves to be a frustrating struggle. When an attempt to restore the proper spirit with a forlorn little fur Christmas tree fails, he needs Linus when viewing the rough cut of the show. Both Bill Melendez and Lee Mendelsohn were convinced that they had a flop on their hands. After it premiered, they were happily surprised and shocked at the high ratings and excellent reviews that the show received. Today, the show remains the second longest-running Christmas special on U.S. network television. The 1964 Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, 1964, premiered 1 year earlier and is still broadcast every year on U.S. network television. Movie reviews. Kathy Steinberg, who did the voice of Sally Brown, had not yet learned to read at the time of production, so she had to be fed her lines, often a word or syllable at a time, which explains the rather choppy delivery of the line, "All I want is what I have coming to me. All I want is my fair share," broke many of the rules prevalent for animated holiday specials during the 1960s. It didn't make use of a laugh track. Real children were used for the character voices instead of adult actors imitating children's voices, and biblical references were used to illustrate the true meaning of Christmas. When they first saw the show, CBS executives were horrified at the idea of an animated Christmas special with such a blatant message. They also strongly objected to the fact that the show had no canned laughter. In addition, they greeted Vince Guaraldi's jazz score as an intrusion in the special that audiences would never accept. However, when CBS learned to their astonishment of the special's spectacular ratings earned on its initial broadcast and the glowing reviews for it, the network promptly contracted the producers for more specials. When A Charlie Brown Christmas won an Emmy for Outstanding Children's Program in 1966, only Lee Mendelsohn and Bill Melendez were called up to accept the award, but they made sure that Charles Schulz was with them to give the acceptance speech. Schulz's speech simply went, "Charlie Brown's not used to winning, so we thank you. Television is running a big gamble," wrote television reporter Val Adams in the New York Times on August 8, 1965. It will attempt a half-hour animated cartoon in color based on the newspaper comic strip Peanuts, in lifting Peanuts characters from the printed page and infusing them with motion and audibility. Television is tampering with the imaginations of millions of comic strip fans, both well and self-conditioned, on how Charlie Brown, Lucy, and others should act and talk. Newspapers, though not the Times, of course, had delivered the tales of the Peanuts characters to American doorsteps every day since October 2, 1950. The group's personal and social misfortunes captured American sentiment. For not much more than the cost of Lucy Van Pelt's 5-cent therapy booth, readers could relieve their childhood angst through the antics and quips of Charlie Brown and his gang. And they would for another 50 years, for as creator Charles Schulz would later reflect, all the loves in the strip are unrequited. All the baseball games are lost. All the test scores are D-minuses. The great pumpkin never comes, and the football is always pulled away. The public would have specific expectations. Then, when CBS aired for the first time an animated adaptation of the comic strip on December 9, 1965, the greater gamble for the network, though, was how airing an animated children's special at night would change its primetime philosophy. As has been widely reported, A Charlie Brown Christmas incorporated unexpected elements in its animation, the voices of children instead of trained adults, jazz music, a Bible passage, no laugh track. But the team behind the special had toyed with the screen presentation of the characters years before, first in a 1959 Ford Motor commercial. Schulz, fiercely protective of his creation, only allowed the Peanuts crew to participate after seeing the work of former Disney animator Bill Melendez, who preserved Schulz's seemingly inimitable style. A few years later, Melendez reunited with the characters when Schulz agreed to collaborate on a documentary with Lee Mendelsohn, a television producer. Mendelsohn wanted a few minutes of animation for the project about Schulz and his history with Peanuts before marketing it. He couldn't sell the program, but at least one advertising firm on Madison Avenue remembered the project when Charlie Brown and Company landed on the April 9, 1965 cover of Time magazine. McCann Erickson, the agency representing another of America's most beloved institutions, Coca-Cola. The Coke and Pepsi advertising wars of the 1960s took to the television airwaves as the central battlefield. The Pepsi generation came into vogue in 1963, and in 1964, Pepsi Company doubled its volume of advertisements, increased its television budget by 30%, and tripled its market research budget. That same year, it teamed with Disney to present It's a Small World in the Pepsi Pavilion at the World's Fair in New York. As the next Perry in the advertising wars, Coca-Cola, McCann Erickson executive John Allen told Mendelsohn, wanted to sponsor a family-friendly Christmas special in 1965. Could he produce a Charlie Brown one? Mendelsohn said yes without asking Schulz, but the cartoonist agreed to give it a go. The two sent off a one-page triple-space treatment a few days later. Coca-Cola accepted it right away. CBS executives outright rejected the Charlie Brown Christmas special when McCann Erickson first pitched them. It wasn't that they didn't think animated shows could succeed in prime time. NBC had aired the Christmas special Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer at the end of 1964, and for several years already, ABC had a hit with Hanna-Barbera's The Flintstones, television's first half-hour animated sitcom. In the 1950s, CBS had experimented with animated shorts in its nighttime lineup, but these disappeared in 1959 when James Aubrey became president of the network. He didn't believe in specials, seeing them as programming interruptions that distracted habit viewers from their routines. Children fell into this category for Aubrey, and as they expected cartoons on Saturday morning, not on a weeknight. Although a volatile presence, Aubrey was a good steward of the CBS reputation. The Tiffany Network, named such for its high-quality programming, had established itself with outstanding broadcast journalism, led by Edward R. Murrow, during the post-war television boom. For the next 20 years, the network struggled with the balance between journalism and entertainment. Several years before the Charlie Brown Christmas special, Murrow had left CBS after a long series of publicized arguments with Aubrey's boss, CBS Corporation President Frank Stanton. Murrow's main concern was television's inadequate coverage of grave world problems. Stanton, in a speech to CBS network affiliates on May 4, 1962, said, "CBS cannot agree that we ought to conceal the fact that we are diverted by mystery dramas or westerns or situation comedies. Under Aubrey's leadership, these mystery dramas, westerns, and situation comedies appeared at the same time on the same nights every week for the benefit of the habit viewer, placing CBS at the top of the ratings." In a May 1976 article, New York Times reporter Les Brown noted that only when Stanton fired James Aubrey in early 1965 did CBS Culture begin to entertain specials, then called spectaculars, other than documentaries. Even then, the television events aired infrequently, in conjunction with a big-name personality or the presentation of a play or news documentary. Charles Schulz and Peanuts fit that description. But airing A Charlie Brown Christmas was indeed a gamble. Both Charles Schulz and his Peanuts gang had big-name personalities, but not the kind that fronted variety shows. With Aubrey ousted in February 1965, and the Peanuts proposal before them just 2 months later, CBS had little time to experiment with specials and no experience with half-hour primetime animation. According to the Times, CBS executives agreed to A Charlie Brown Christmas once they realized that Stanton was a friend to Schulz and a fan of the comic. Meanwhile, Schulz, Mendelsohn, and animator/director Melendez only had 6 months to put together a half-hour animated special. None of them had attempted the feat before. Quickly, the proposal's bare bones came together. The ice skating, the skinny little tree, the debate over Linus' scripture reading, Mendelsohn and Melendez balked, Schulz insisted. The hapless dialogue that fans had come to love from the lips of little Charlie Brown, "I know nobody likes me. Why do we have to have a holiday season to emphasize it?" 3 weeks before screening the special for CBS, Mendelsohn and Melendez watched it in a small room full of animators. The pace felt slow. The music didn't quite fit every scene. The kids' dialogue sounded stilted. In Charles Solomon's The Art and Making of Peanuts Animation, celebrating 50 years of television specials, Mendelsohn remembers Melendez turning to him and saying, "I think we've ruined Charlie Brown," so thought Neil Reagan, an executive at McCann Erickson. "This isn't very good," he said when he checked in on the work for his client. Some of these early concerns could be improved upon. Realizing that the Vince Guaraldi instrumental for the opening ice skating sequence needed lyrics, Mendelsohn jotted down the poem "Christmas Time Is Here." The actors' cadences were harder to edit. For the short documentary, The Making of a Charlie Brown Christmas, Mendelsohn indicated that is why music accompanies some of the dialogue. Days before the air date, CBS, which had taken the gamble of this drastic sidestep from their successful primetime philosophy, had the opportunity to take their first look at the special. Fred Silverman, a former CBS programming executive, was in his late 20s during the time of the viewing. The general reaction was one of some disappointment, he remembered, that it didn't really translate as well as we thought. Didn't get the voices, Mendelsohn told the Washington Post. They didn't get the music. They didn't get the pacing. CBS would only air the show, executives said, because they had already scheduled it to run the following week. In 1966, A Charlie Brown Christmas would go on to win a Peabody and an Emmy for Outstanding Children's Programming. The success of A Charlie Brown Christmas changed the network's primetime philosophy. The following year, CBS telecast a second primetime animated holiday special, the adaptation of Dr. Seuss's How the Grinch Stole Christmas, and in 1969, it aired Frosty the Snowman. By the mid-70s, CBS aired about 80 to 90 television specials annually, as did NBC and ABC, including sports events, pageants, award shows, variety programs, and made-for-TV movies. In 1971, program executive Fred Silverman spun the success of one such film, called The Homecoming, into a series that his colleagues didn't think would last. The Waltons, which ended up running from 1972 until 1981. A Charlie Brown Christmas ran annually for 35 years on CBS, until ABC acquired the rights in 2001, a year after Charles Schulz died. The show was the first of more than 45 animated Charlie Brown television specials. The holiday season hasn't really begun until the Christmas specials start running. And what better to kick it off with than A Charlie Brown Christmas? The first animated Peanut special, from Warner Brothers/UPA animator Bill Melendez, seemed to be poised on the verge of failure. The tight budget meant some corners had to be cut during production, and working with the child voice actors was difficult. Many of them had no experience, and some of them couldn't even read. Studio executives fought over the story elements, and even hated the Vince Guaraldi soundtrack. Audiences, fortunately, displayed better judgment, and the special has become a success, going on to win Emmy and Peabody Awards. The special has been broadcast every year since it first aired, to the delight of little trees everywhere. I know how you feel about all this Christmas business, getting depressed and all that. It happens to me every year. I never get what I really want. I always get a lot of stupid toys or a bicycle or clothes or something like that. A Charlie Brown Christmas is the first animated television special based on the comic strip Peanuts by Charles M. Schulz. It originally aired on CBS on December 9, 1965. In this special, Charlie Brown bemoans his unhappiness, even with the Christmas season in full swing, and his depression is only deepened when he tries to enhance the spirit of the season with his own ideas. On their way to join the rest of the gang all skating on a frozen pond, Charlie Brown confides in Linus that even though the holidays are approaching, he still feels depressed despite all the presents and cards and tree decorating. After a reproach by Linus and a put-down from Violet, he decides to pay a visit to Lucy in her psychiatric booth. Deciding that he needs to get involved in some real Christmas project, Lucy invites Charlie Brown to direct the Christmas play at the school. She sympathizes with Charlie Brown about holiday depression, always getting a lot of stupid toys instead of what she wants. Real estate. On the way to the auditorium, Charlie Brown's attention is caught by Snoopy frantically and gleefully busy decorating his doghouse. When Charlie Brown demands an explanation, Snoopy hands him a flyer about the neighborhood Christmas lights and display contest. Charlie Brown walks away in disbelief at his own dog being bitten by the Christmas commercial bug, and is then accosted by Sally, who wants Charlie Brown to dictate a letter from her to Santa. She ultimately asks him in the letter to just send money, 10s and 20s, causing Charlie Brown to run away in exasperation at even his sister's secularization. Charlie Brown arrives at the rehearsals, but try as he might, he cannot seem to get control of the situation. The uncooperative kids are more interested in modernizing the play with dancing and lively music. Conversely, Charlie Brown is determined to not let the play become secularized by focusing on the traditional side of the story. Thinking the play requires the proper mood, Charlie Brown decides they need a Christmas tree. Lucy agrees with his idea and dispatches Charlie Brown to get the biggest aluminum Christmas tree you can get, maybe painted pink. With Linus in tow, Charlie Brown sets off on his quest. But when they get to the tree market, Charlie Brown zeroes in on a small sapling which, ironically as well as symbolically, is the only real tree on the lot. Linus is reluctant about Charlie Brown's choice, but Charlie Brown is convinced that with decoration it will be just right for the play. They return to the auditorium with the tree, only to be berated by the girls, especially Lucy, who says, "Can't you even tell a good tree from a poor tree?" Second-guessing himself, Charlie Brown begins to wonder aloud if anyone knows what Christmas is about. Linus quietly says he can tell him and walks to center stage to make his point. Under a spotlight, Linus quotes the second chapter of the Gospel of Luke, verses 8 through 14 from the King James Bible, in which angels from heaven tell a group of initially frightened shepherds of the birth of the baby Jesus, and instruct them as to where they can find the infant. Hearing this, Charlie Brown begins to realize that he does not have to let commercialism ruin his Christmas. With a newly found sense of inspiration, he quietly picks up the little tree and walks out of the auditorium, intending to take it home to decorate and show the others it will work in the play. He stops at Snoopy's decorated doghouse, which now sports a first prize blue ribbon for winning the display contest. Letting his dog's commercialism roll off his back, Charlie Brown takes an ornament off the doghouse and hangs it on his tree, but the ornament's weight is too much for the small branch and pulls it to the ground, much to the shock of Charlie Brown, who says, "I've killed it. Oh, everything I touch gets ruined," and walks away with his head hung in shame. The rest of the gang, having also heard Linus' recitative, began to realize they were too rough on Charlie Brown and quietly followed him from the auditorium. Linus goes up to the little tree and gently props the drooping branch back to its upright position, ornament and all, saying, "I never thought it was such a bad little tree," then wraps his blanket around the base of the trunk and adds, "It's not bad at all. Maybe it just needs a little love." The rest of the children grab the other decorations off of Snoopy's doghouse and add them to the tree. When they have finished, even Lucy concedes to Charlie Brown's choice, saying, "Charlie Brown is a blockhead, but he did get a nice tree." The children then start humming "Hark." The herald angels sing when Charlie Brown returns, demanding to know what's going on. When he sees what they have done with the tree, he cannot believe his eyes, and all the gang shout, "Merry Christmas, Charlie Brown." At this point, the children, joined by Charlie Brown, begin singing the carol in earnest as the end credits roll and the snow begins to fall. All of the Peanuts characters that had been introduced and established as permanent in the strip by 1965 feature in the program. Pigpen, Frida, and even Shermie feature in minor roles. Five and his sisters 3 and 4 appear in non-speaking roles, performing memorable dances. Charlotte Braun had been dropped a decade earlier, and Roy had only made one guest appearance at camp that year. Members of the choir of St. Paul's Episcopal Church provided vocals for the songs "Christmas Time is Here" and "Hark." The herald angels sing. They can be heard when all the children shout, "Merry Christmas, Charlie Brown." At the end of the special, the original special did not show any voice credits, but the first 3 voice credits have been added to contemporary broadcasts. The original airing of the special contained numerous differences from the more commonly known revised 1966 print that is still shown today. According to the book A Charlie Brown Christmas, The Making of a Tradition, the studio went back the following year to revise the special more due to its original rushed production, leaving various errors and the lack of music in some scenes. The differences from the original 1965 version can be found below. The song "Christmas Time is Here" starts earlier than in the 1966 revised version to allow the full song to be heard instead of fading out once Charlie Brown hits the tree. The dialogue was relayed and the start of the music was pushed back farther in the 1966 version. There are no sound effects when Snoopy throws Linus and Charlie Brown around. During the main title shot, the sound effects are differently pitched, both the wobble of the tree and the plop of the snow after Charlie Brown crashes. Snoopy throws Linus into a Coca-Cola sign, and the song fades out with "Christmas Time" repeated several times. The original sign was a standard danger sign before being changed to the Coca-Cola version. The early sign can be seen in the original CBS promo and for 1 frame in the Coca-Cola version. Disproving rumors, the can that the characters throw snowballs at is not a Coca-Cola can. During the establishing shot of Lucy's psychiatrist scene, the snow covering her booth is missing. Lucy does not make a zipping noise once she rushes over to meet Charlie Brown. Lucy does not make a whirling noise when she reacts to Charlie Brown's "That's IT." The background music also stops during this moment instead of continuing to play like in the 1966 version. When Snoopy decorates his doghouse, "Christmas Time Is Here" continues to play instead of the more upbeat "Surfin' Snoopy." There are no zipping noises as Snoopy moves around decorating his doghouse. Charlie Brown is silent for 4 seconds while reading the flyer Snoopy hands him after mentioning, "Find the true meaning of Christmas. Win money. Money. Money." Then Chris Doran's, the voice of Schroeder and Shermie, voice is spliced in the soundtrack to exclaim, "Lights and display contest. Oh no!" Then quickly reverts back to Peter Robbins' voice for Sally's list scene. When Charlie Brown is greeted as director, Snoopy's howling is shorter and sounds more realistic and wolf-like. There's no music playing in the background during Charlie Brown's director speech scene until the Linus and Lucy dance. The shot of Schroeder listening for Charlie Brown to tell him to set the mood is a static shot of all the characters standing on stage where their dancing positions are. This causes an animation error once they start dancing again, where Pigpen only strums the bass 2 times instead of with the music. The 1966 version has a close-up of Schroeder sitting alone on a pink background. When Charlie Brown talks positively about Pigpen to Frida, they are farther away in the original version. Face is also completely clean as he faces the camera. In the fixed version, we get a close-up on Charlie Brown, Frida, and Pigpen. Face is also dirtier as he faces the camera. When Lucy gives 5 good reasons to Linus, we do not see a close-up of her hand making a fist. There's no swooping noise when Lucy attempts to slug Snoopy. She glares at him a second longer, and he doesn't make a blah sound after licking Lucy. Lucy's "ah" is retimed to overlap Charlie Brown's "all right." Script Girl continues with the scripts. Snoopy's dish is white in the original lunch break scene, and the sound effects of him kicking it around are realistic clanking sounds instead of the later cartoon-type noises. One frame is also rearranged in his sequence. There is no music during Lucy's Script Girl scenes. When Lucy reacts to Charlie Brown and exclaims, "I know when I've been insulted," the full background can be seen and the characters are farther away from the screen. Lucy also pauses before she runs away. The long shot of the characters dancing on stage is played for an additional time. In the 1966 present version, they're in their costumes in separate shots on a pink background. The start of the music has also been corrected in the present version. Lucy's fingers don't make a snapping sound when she likes the music. Charlie Brown's nose is missing for 8 frames when Lucy recommends getting a Christmas tree. The characters are also farther away, revealing the back door and parted curtains in the background. When Charlie Brown tries to find a tree, Linus does not bang on the aluminum tree. Charlie Brown's reaction to the tiny tree is also very brief. We don't see Linus when he says, "Gee, do they still make wooden Christmas trees?" The commercial fade-out is also longer and lets the music continue. The recordings of Jingle Bells can be heard for slightly longer after Schroeder stops playing the piano each time. Schroeder also does not make a drum roll sound while spinning after Lucy yells, "That's it." There is no music in the background when Charlie Brown and Linus return with the tree. Linus' speech is intact and he does not pick up his blanket in the full shot of the auditorium. This was reanimated in the later version, resulting in a continuity error. Schroeder's piano is also missing in shots of the stage but has been added back in the present version. Once Charlie Brown is eager to decorate the tree and heads home, there is no fade-out to commercial. The shot also lasts several seconds longer due to this. It immediately cuts to Charlie Brown's shock of Snoopy winning first prize. Also, Charlie Brown's reaction to the award is slightly longer. When the children decorate the tree, the animation of them decorating it only plays once and Charlie Brown's reaction to it is brief. Charlie Brown's foot can also be seen for a frame before he enters the scene, which was removed on the present version. While the kids hum the "Lou, Lou, Lou" portion of the song and take a breath, there's no background error present, where in the later version the characters in the back overlap the rest of the characters in front of them for 1 frame. Charlie Brown blushes while singing and Snoopy sings like a human instead of making a howling motion. A 1968 airing of the special contained an announcer stating the above sponsor text after the Coca-Cola text screen had been removed. The music in this airing has heavy reverb and finishes over the end screen. There is no the end copyright screen. It was apparently added in 1966 after the studio realized that the special would be airing more than once. There is a spot afterwards where Charles M. Schulz thanks Coca-Cola for sponsoring a Charlie Brown Christmas. This was mentioned in the making of book and is not included with the print currently available, however. Comic strips adapted in the special main category. Strips adapted in a Charlie Brown Christmas. This special has been repeated at least once every year since its original broadcast, making it the longest-running animated TV special in history. This special aired 4 days early in Canada on December 5, 1965. On CTV, the special received 2 Emmy Award nominations, one for Special Classification of Individual Achievement and one for Outstanding Children's Program, which it had won. This is the only special in which Schroeder's piano sounds like a toy piano when he is asked to play Jingle Bells by Lucy. He first plays it like a conventional piano, then an organ, and finally a toy piano on one finger. A running gag in the special is that whenever someone says, "That's it," someone else jumps in alarm. This is the first of 2 specials in which Charlie Brown is simply called Charlie by one of the other characters. On this occasion, it is Lucy. He would later be simply referred to as Charlie again in Charlie Brown's All-Stars and the 1969 feature film A Boy Named Charlie Brown. More details. The original broadcast featured 2 very brief scenes that included references to Coca-Cola. In the opening, immediately after the title screen where Charlie Brown crashes into a tree after being tossed into the air by Snoopy, Linus crashes into a sign that reads, "Brought to you by the people in your town who bottle Coca-Cola." An alternate take, in which the sign instead said "Danger," was made and used in early promos advertising the special, but it is unknown what happened to this version. And during the closing credits, following the United Feature Syndicate credit, "Merry Christmas from the people who bottle Coca-Cola" fades in. Both scenes were removed following the original broadcast as a result of subsequent FCC laws precluding sponsor plugs in the context of children's programs. As a result, in all current prints, including CBS 1997 remastered print, it quickly fades out after the opening title and the singing in the closing credits fades out. The can that the gang throws snowballs at has always been a generic can, even in the original broadcast. The removal of this particular scene was part of the edits done by CBS when it aired the special during the early 1990s until it was remastered in 1997, and as a result, it spawned a myth in which the reason it was edited out was that the can was a Coca-Cola can. When they first saw the show, CBS executives were horrified at the idea of an animated Christmas special with such a blatant message. They also strongly objected to the fact that the show had no canned laughter. A version with a laugh track was produced but later discarded after the success of the broadcast version. Kathy Steinberg, who did the voice of Sally Brown, had not yet learned to read at the time of production, so she had to be fed her lines, often a word or syllable at a time, which explains the rather choppy delivery of the line. "All I want is what I have come to me. All I want is my fair share." Bill Melendez tried to talk Charles M. Schulz out of using biblical references, especially Linus's speech in this special. Schulz reportedly won him over by saying, "If we don't do it, who will?" As it turned out, Linus' recitation was hailed as one of the most powerful moments in the highly acclaimed special. Linus's speech about the true meaning of Christmas is actually from the King James translation of the Bible.in addition to the soundtrack album containing music by the Vince Guaraldi Trio. A Disney read-along record was later produced, which recreated the special as a radio program-like audio experience. This was before the prevalence of home video. This book and record set recreated almost the entire program, with only some minor cuts, primarily musical. This special was listed as Charlie Brown's Christmas during its premiere in the United Kingdom in 1970. This was dropped when the specials returned to television in 1981 under BBC One and BBC Two. 2 making-of documentaries have been made. The first is The Making of a Charlie Brown Christmas, which was hosted by Whoopi Goldberg and aired following ABC's initial airing of the special in 2001. And the second is a completely unrelated documentary that was created for Warner Home Video's 2008 Deluxe Edition DVD release. Television executives figured that the show would be a rating failure, but instead, it was watched by half the American viewing public. With such spectacular ratings, those same executives soon contacted the producers for a whole series of Peanuts specials that would run for decades. Over the decades, the special was increasingly shortened for time to more commercials until the viewing public protested vigorously. When the broadcast rights were purchased by the ABC TV network, the network compromised with an hour-long time slot for the special to be broadcast uncut for time, and padding out the remaining time with initially the making of A Charlie Brown Christmas, and then Charlie Brown's Christmas Tales in subsequent years. Of course, this arrangement also allowed the network to sell twice as many commercial spots for a reliably high-rated annual rerun. Producer Lee Mendelson wrote the lyrics for Vince Guaraldi's Christmas Time Is Here music, and his son Glenn, along with his then 6th grade class, sang the vocals. Production ended 10 days before the special premiere. None of the children who voiced the characters received credits at the end. When A Charlie Brown Christmas won an Emmy for Outstanding Children's Program in 1966, only Lee Mendelson and Bill Melendez were called up to accept the award, but they made sure that Charles Schulz was with them to give the acceptance speech. Schulz's speech simply went, "Charlie Brown's not used to winning, so we thank you." October 1st, 2015, the U.S. Postal Service issued a set of 10 postage stamps with various scenes from the TV special to celebrate its 50th anniversary. Not long after the animation was finished, Tracy Stratford's voice broke, which is why she never voiced Lucy in another Peanuts special. When the completed special was first presented to the CBS executives, they promptly hated it. Their major complaints were that the pace was too slow, the jazz music didn't work with the special's tone, and the animation was too simple, among other things. However, the special had to air, as CBS had already scheduled and promoted it. As Lee Mendelson later said, "I really believe that if it wasn't already scheduled to air the following week, there was no way they were ever going to broadcast that special." The rock music group Jefferson Airplane wanted autographs from all the kids who voiced the characters. At one point, Lucy mocks Linus' security blanket, asking him what he plans to do with it when he's older, to which Linus smugly replies, "Maybe I'll turn it into a sports coat." In one Peanuts strip series, Linus tried to kick his blanket habit by giving it to Snoopy to keep it away from Linus, and Snoopy ended up turning the blanket into a sports coat. In 1993, Knott's Berry Farm gave out free VHS copies of the special during the holiday season to kids during a special event. The VHS tapes did not contain any previews, promos, studio logos, or even FBI warnings. It was just the full, unedited special. The short was watched by over 15 million viewers when it first premiered in 1965. Patty in this special is not Patricia Peppermint Patty Reichart. The latter first appeared several years later in the strip. The former was phased out gradually, disappearing completely by the end of the 1970s, despite being one of the 4 original Peanuts characters. This special helped bring to an end the brief fad of aluminum Christmas trees, which had been going on since 1958 when it portrayed them in a negative light as part of the over-commercialization of the holiday. The idea was given by John Allen, who worked for an ad agency for Coca-Cola, as he called Lee Mendelson. He originally saw the documentary that was canceled to be broadcast because he was unable to sell it. He asked Mendelson if the producers of Peanuts thought about making a Christmas special. Mendelson admittedly lied, saying, "Of course we have." Allen then asked for an outline of the special to be presented in 4 days. After this conversation, Mendelson promptly called Charles Schulz and said to him, "I just sold A Charlie Brown Christmas." Schulz asked, "What's that?" And Mendelson said, "That's a new show you and I have to come up with this weekend." Mendelson later recalled a long pause of silence before Schulz responded, very casually, "Okay, we can do it." Schulz and Melendez were notably ashamed of the artwork in the special and were surprised with the fact that the special has been a hit for 30 years. "The continued success of the special has surprised me as much as anyone," Schulz said in the December 2, 1995 issue of TV Guide. "A lot of the drawings are terrible, which animation director Bill Melendez and I are still ashamed of." This was the first of several holiday-themed Peanuts specials produced by Lee Mendelson and Bill Melendez. It's still their most famous special. The success of this Emmy-winning special opened the door for their first feature film. The 1968 classic, A Boy Named Charlie Brown. Apple TV Plus bought the rights to the Peanuts specials in 2020, and therefore 2020 was supposed to be the first year since A Charlie Brown Christmas premiered that it would not air on free television. However, after an outcry from the public for removing the programs from free television, the specials, beginning with A Charlie Brown Thanksgiving and later The Special, began airing on PBS and PBS Kids in November and December 2020, sponsored by Apple. Though Schulz did not consider the Peanuts animated specials canon to the comics, despite often writing them himself, he references the special in the December 18, 1966 strip, where Linus reads the same quote from the New Testament that he recites in the special and remarks, "Like I've said before, that's what Christmas is all about." Charlie Brown, Peanuts characters who were introduced after this special was released appear in a 2010 book adaptation of it. In the opening skating scene, the close-up of the line where Snoopy has no collar shows 5 after Patty, but in the following wide shot, Pigpen is in his place. In the dance scene, Patty is not seen. After Linus sums up to Charlie Brown that, "That's what Christmas is all about," Charlie Brown picks up the tree he bought and walks away from Linus toward the other kids, including a second Linus. After the children have decorated Charlie Brown's Christmas tree, several of them and Snoopy suddenly change position from one shot to the next, and Pigpen is added in. The first year the special aired, the closing singing of the lyrics to Hark, the Herald Angels Sing included Snoopy mouthing the words. This was corrected in 1966 for all subsequent broadcasts. Another change, not strictly for a goof, is that in the first year, Charlie Brown was shown deeply blushing after the others said, "Merry Christmas," before he joined in the singing. The changes made in 1966 also introduced a new error that occurs earlier in the whole scene, right after the humming of the newborn king line. For 2 frames, the back row characters in the shot are superimposed over those in the middle row. Patty appears over Pigpen, Shermie appears over Linus, plus just a small bit of Violet over Frida. Shermie, the boy in the yellow on the right side of the screen, disappears after the gang greets Charlie Brown. In Shermie's place is the boy in a blue coat, who is still on the right side of the screen. So Shermie disappears and out comes a clone of the blue boy, or Shermie's coat changed color. When Schroeder and Lucy are discussing what Beethoven contributed, he stops playing the piano, but the piano does not stop right away. When Charlie Brown and Linus go looking for a Christmas tree, Linus taps on a metal tree and says, "This one really brings Christmas close to a person." The tree makes a sound the second before he taps on it, not when he taps on it. When Charlie Brown consults Lucy for psychiatric help, her sign, as read from the front, says, "The doctor is real in." However, when seen from the side angle, the sign simply says, "The doctor is in." The number of branches and needles on the tree that Charlie Brown picks out changes from scene to scene. When Linus is making his speech, Charlie Brown is behind him and to his left, and he is not wearing his red coat. When Linus is briefly shown from his right, Charlie Brown is in the background wearing his coat. When the shot cuts back to a front view, the coat is off again. In the same scene, his coat changes to orange when he brings his tree on stage. During Linus's speech from Luke, he drops his security blanket when he says, "Fear not, for behold," he continues the rest of his speech with the blanket on the stage next to him. However, in the long shot when he says, "And on earth peace, goodwill toward men," it is back in his left hand. Immediately after, when his speech is finished, he makes a point of picking his blanket up off the stage. When Lucy first changes the out/real in sign on her psychiatric help stand, the sign is next to the word is. In some subsequent shots, the sign is next to the word doctor. After Charlie Brown is sitting at Lucy's psychiatric booth and says, "That's it," and Lucy flies backward into the snow, Lucy's lime green and white nickel jar disappears and never reappears. In the same scene, his stool disappears and then comes back in the very next shot. The back of Charlie Brown's head is drawn with 3 hairs in some scenes and with no hair in others. When Linus is giving his speech and the camera draws back for a panoramic shot, there is no yellow director's chair on the stage. However, after Linus gives his speech and Charlie Brown exits the stage left, you see the director's chair sitting in front of the left front curtain. When Charlie Brown and Linus approach the green Christmas tree, there are 2 trees behind it. The one on the left side is yellow and the one on the right side is dark pink. In the next shot, the tree on the right is a great purple color. When Linus is given his script during the first rehearsal for the Christmas play, He remarks to Lucy that he can't memorize something like so quickly. The camera pans out to Lucy as Linus asks for one reason as to why he should be put through such agony by memorizing the lines. As Lucy turns to face Linus, there is a cut in camera shots. However, while the cut shows Lucy has moved to Linus, the background does not change at all. The easiest way to notice this slip-up is to pay attention to a white box that stands open on the left side of the screen. When the cut occurs, the box does not move, no rotating, shifting, or any other movement at all. This goes for the curtain and doors in the back as well. This makes Lucy seem as though she has suddenly teleported herself to her spot in front of Linus. After Charlie Brown and Linus find the green Christmas tree, Schroeder plays Fur Elise and his bottom area disappears for the entire scene. It then appears in the next scene, the scene where Charlie Brown sets his green Christmas tree on the piano top. When skating, Patty, the girl with orange bows and striped dress, has a bow on each side of her head. When Snoopy spins everyone, she has only one bow. When she is trying to catch snowflakes on her tongue, she has only one bow on her right side. When Charlie Brown is introduced as the director, she now has one bow on her left side. When Charlie Brown leaves the stage after Linus's speech, she has two bows again. When Schroeder is playing his piano and Snoopy comes on screen to dance, he appears to suddenly appear in the middle of the frame out of thin air. However, dust clouds can be seen on the left side of the screen for several frames beforehand, indicating that this is where Snoopy appeared. The cells of Lucy in her psychiatry stand are not properly aligned to the background so that the cutoff line of her body overlaps the edge of the tabletop. In the dance scene while Schroeder is playing his piano, when he turns his head towards the camera, his mouth is not seen. Whenever Lucy wears her winter coat, her blue socks turn yellow. From when Lucy says, "You were supposed to get a good tree. Can't you even tell a good tree from a poor tree?" to Schroeder and Shermy walking away while laughing at Charlie Brown, Shermy's long sleeves become short sleeves. When Charlie Brown is leaving the auditorium with his Christmas tree, 3 and 4 are seen in their winter coats while the rest are in their casual clothes, but when they start to follow Charlie Brown, the rest are wearing their winter coats. Lucy's red cap sometimes disappears between shots in the special. This is most notably in the final scene where the children gather around the small tree. Charlie Brown is shown wearing shorts while looking at the snowfall at his house window before putting on his coat. When he leaves his house, he's wearing pants or probably changed off-screen. It's hard to imagine a holiday season without a Charlie Brown Christmas. The 1965 broadcast has become a staple, etched into traditions across generations like decorating the tree or sipping hot cocoa. But this beloved TV special almost didn't make it to air. CBS executives thought the 25-minute program was too slow, too serious, and too different from the upbeat spectacles they imagined audiences wanted. A cartoon about a depressed kid seeking psychiatric advice? No laugh track? Humble, lo-fi animation, and yet, against all the odds, it became a classic. The program turned Peanuts from a popular comic strip into a multimedia empire, not because it was flashy or followed the rules, but because it was sincere. As a business professor who has studied the Peanuts franchise, I see a Charlie Brown Christmas as a fascinating historical moment. It's the true story of an unassuming comic strip character who crossed over into television and managed to voice hefty, thought-provoking ideas without getting booted off the air. The Peanuts special came together out of a last-minute scramble. Somewhat out of the blue, producer Lee Mendelson got a call from advertising agency McCann-Erickson. Coca-Cola wanted to sponsor an animated Christmas special. Mendelson had previously failed to convince the agency to sponsor a Peanuts documentary. This time, though, he assured McCann-Erickson that the characters would be a perfect fit. Understand how AI is changing society. Mendelson called up Peanuts comic strip creator Charles "Sparky" Schulz and told him he had just sold a Charlie Brown Christmas, and they would have mere months to write, animate, and bring the special to air. A black and white photo of a man in a white suit and dark tie, seated at a drawing table with a cartoon of a boy in front of him. "For unto you is born this day in the city of David a Savior, which is Christ the Lord." Leave it to Linus to deliver the true meaning of Christmas. Glory to God in the highest, and on earth peace, good will toward men. He concludes, picking up his security blanket and walking into the wings. The rest of the gang soon concludes Charlie Brown's scrawny tree isn't so bad. After all, it just needs a little love. When Schulz discussed this idea with Mendelssohn and Melendez, they were hesitant. For much of U.S. history, Protestant Christianity was the default in American culture. But in the years since World War II, society had grown somewhat more mindful of making room for Catholic and Jewish Americans. Unsure how to handle the shifting norms, many mainstream entertainment companies in the 1960s tended to avoid religious topics. "The Bible thing scares us," CBS executives said when they saw the proofs of the special. But there was simply no time to redo the entire dramatic arc of the special, and pulling it was not an option, given that advertisements had already run. Fortunately for the Peanuts franchise, when the special aired on December 9, 1965, it was an instant success. Nearly half of American households tuned in, and the program won both an Emmy and a Peabody Award. Schulz had tapped into something audiences were craving: an honest, heartfelt message that cut through the commercialism. A black and white photo of children on stage, many of them standing on chorus risers. Students at the school in Denver put on their own production of the Peanuts Christmas special in 1966. Denver Post via Getty Images. Millions of viewers have continued to tune in to the show's annual rebroadcast for over 50 years on CBS and then ABC, and now Apple TV+. When I was researching my spiritual biography of Schulz, A Charlie Brown Religion, one of my favorite finds was a 1965 letter from a Florida viewer, Betty Knorr. She praised the show for stressing the true meaning of the Christmas season at a time when the mention of God in general is being hush-hushed. The magic of Schulz's work, though, is that it resonates across demographics and ideologies. Some fans find comfort in the show's gentle message of faith, while others embrace it in a purely secular way. Simple but poignant, Schulz's art and gentle humor can do two things. They can act as safe entry points for some pretty hefty thoughts, be they psychiatric, cultural, or theological. Or Peanuts cartoons can simply be heartwarming, festive entertainment, if that's what you want. Today, both the Peanuts empire and the Christmas industry are thriving. Back in the 1960s, commercial realities almost derailed Schulz's special, yet those same forces ultimately ensured its broadcast. The result is a lasting touchstone of innocence, hope, and belief. The brains behind a Peanuts tribute book called me several years back with an inspiring request. Would I be interested in picking an object from the life and art of Charles M. Sparky Schulz and penning a reflective insight for their work in progress? I said yes, as my mind immediately went to one collection: the beautiful animation cells from A Charlie Brown Christmas, because from concept to glorious completion, so much about that soulful and spiritual holiday classic resonates as an act of faith. Schulz, the man who birthed the lovably hard-luck Charlie Brown, was known to have wrestled with self-doubt. Yet when it came to taking the reins of A Charlie Brown Christmas in 1965, the Peanuts creator was a thinker of unwavering confidence and cool-headed belief. His longtime screen collaborator and late producer Lee Mendelssohn, who wrote the lyrics to Vince Guaraldi's jazzy "Christmas Time Is Here," used to tell me, foremost among the decisions Schulz made with conviction was to quote scripture in his script. If he was going to make a December special, Schulz, who had regularly attended and then taught Bible study groups, first with a Church of God community in his native Minnesota, then at a Methodist church in Sebastopol, California, was going to mention the reason for the season. It bears underscoring that this was no low-key statement to make in the 60s. During that decade, not even 9% of Christmas episodes and specials contained any substantive reference to religion, according to A Charlie Brown Religion by scholar Stephen J. Lind. Mendelssohn reminded me more than once that he and the third member of their leadership team, the animator Bill Melendez, initially felt very uneasy about the show's animated characters quoting from the gospel, with the two men even asking Schulz, "Are you sure you want to do this? Would this sink the show?" Yet the Peanuts creator offered a clarion reply: "If we don't do it, who will?" Even when network executives considered cutting such a soliloquy, Schulz stuck to his belief that this special needed to be about something to make it worth airing, and his something was to dramatize the question: what is the true meaning of Christmas? Many on the production team felt uneasy about the show's animated characters quoting from the gospel, worried that it would sink the show. But Charles M. Schulz offered a clarion reply: "If we don't do it, who will?" Because of his strong sense of mission, who had attended many a school pageant as a father of 5 scripted the pivotal biblical scene. Amid a sea of neon holiday commercialism, the beleaguered and melancholic Charlie Brown seeks answers while trying to shepherd a stage production, saying with an emotional build, "I shouldn't have picked this little tree. Everything I do turns into a disaster. I guess I don't really know what Christmas is all about." Isn't there anyone who knows what Christmas is all about? Ever wise beyond his years, the blanket-toting Linus Van Pelt, memorably voiced by child actor Christopher Shea, steps up to a center spotlight and speaks from the book of Luke, saying in part, "For behold, I bring you good tidings of great joy, which shall be to all people. For unto you is born this day in the city of David a Savior, which is Christ the Lord." Once done, Linus walks back to his friend and says in the pure-hearted tone of youth, "That's what Christmas is all about, Charlie Brown," capping a scene that Mendelsohn would say to me became the most magical 2 minutes in all of TV animation. That moving moment was just one way in which the creative team steered against Hollywood convention and expectation of the era. They also employed sparse and limited animation, hired child actors, instead of adult performers to voice child characters, used slower pacing than was typical, and eschewed a laugh track. All that hewed to Schulz's profound trust in the truth of his characters. 1 week ahead of the show's big debut, CBS executives screened the special and were disappointed and anxious over all these non-traditional facets. Even saying, "The Bible thing scares us," Mendelsohn, who had worked with an ad agency and sponsor Coca-Cola for backing, became dejected. Yet Schulz, who also created the church-themed cartoon feature, Young Pillars, and a Bible-quoting one-shot, Peanuts, strip commissioned by Better Homes and Gardens magazine, retained his deep belief in the honesty and authenticity of their message. The result? Debuting December 9, 1965, in primetime, A Charlie Brown Christmas, now streaming on Apple TV, was watched by nearly half of all American viewers. The reviews were glowing, and the creative collaborators soon picked up Emmy and Peabody Awards, sparking their decades-long partnership on animated Peanuts projects. Yet looking back, just what fueled Schulz's assurance all along? This may be a situation where we have to thank chutzpah, naivete, timing, and complete earnestness, says Gene Schulz, the cartoonist's widow and shepherd of the Peanuts legacy, noting that Sparky was stubborn in challenging the tenets of television and proved right in his instincts. It was an immediate success. It was truly a fairy tale, adds Schulz, who also heads the Charles M. Schulz Museum in Santa Rosa, California. And the naivete of what TV had to be like and the earnestness and honesty are beloved and appreciated to this day. Jason Mendelsohn, son of the producer and multi-hyphenate keeper of the Mendelsohn production studio Flame, says the depiction of Charlie Brown's frustrations surrounding Christmas strikes an emotional chord. Seeing everybody having a good time around us and not having that good time ourselves, or feeling like we're supposed to feel a different way than we do, is a timeless and unheralded thing that we don't talk about much, Mendelsohn says. But Charles Schulz did, and he did in that special, and that resonates with children and adults for all time. Pete Docter, the Oscar-winning director and chief creative officer of Pixar, tells me that the special's form and function work together to create a powerful poetry. A Charlie Brown Christmas does not have the pizzazz and high production values of other high-budget productions, but hits all the harder because of it. The graphic blandishment may look simple, but it brings a profound power to the sincerity of Schulz's message. Charlie Brown is initially mocked for buying a bent, emaciated Christmas tree. Yet Doctor views that tree as a perfect metaphor for us all flawed, overlooked, and seemingly undeserving of grace. Yet like the tree, we are transformed when we are surrounded by love and acceptance. This small, scrappy tree rejected by everyone else is a poignant reminder of the humility and beauty at the heart of Christmas, Doctor says. And all elements of the film, the straightforward animation, the unsophisticated vocal performances, the plain visual and sound design serve to underline this much-needed message. Gene Luen Yang, the best-selling Bay Area-based graphic novelist, American-born Chinese, Boxers and Saints, and 2-time National Book Award finalist, says he can view the special through the lens of being a practicing Catholic. Christianity at its best is the proclamation that God chose the foolish to shame the wise, the weak to shame the strong. In other words, it's good news for sad sacks, and Charlie Brown is the ultimate sad sack. Yang is also moved by Linus' quoting of Scripture, A speech so affecting, he says, because this ancient text about divine power is expressed through humility. Yang appreciates that the soliloquy also uses a modern art form in the most humble of ways. It's being read by a child's voice. The cartooning is simple, minimalist even. The animation is limited. And the scene itself, a group of unsupervised kids on an elementary school stage, next to the most pathetic Christmas tree of all time. What could be more humble than? It's worth noting, too, that after the debut aired, religious sisters at St. Sebastian Parish in Belle Vernon, Pennsylvania, thanked the soda pop sponsor for portraying the real spirit of Christmas, which is so often obliterated by a false one, according to a Charlie Brown religion. The sisters added, "It is our hope that Peanuts may find a permanent place in the TV realm. The Christmas season has no shortage of classic specials in which audiences can indulge. From Frosty the Snowman to How the Grinch Stole Christmas, there's a jolly entry that can warm the heart of even the coldest Scrooge. Perhaps no special does this better than A Charlie Brown Christmas. From its memorable characters to its beautiful themes, it's not only one of the best entries in the Peanuts franchise, it's one of the finest holiday movies ever made." Despite being a joyous tradition, though, bringing Charlie Brown, Peter Robbins, and his friends to the screen was not an easy task. More than 7 decades after the debut of the Peanuts comics, Charles M. Schulz remains one of the most beloved cartoonists of all time. His creation still touches audiences to this day. But Schulz wasn't always sold on adapting his iconic characters for the screen. According to Comics Beat, Schulz had no interest in the idea of turning Charlie Brown and Snoopy into animated characters. In fact, Jason Mendelsohn, son of Lee Mendelsohn, whose company would ultimately produce the Peanuts specials, claims that his father sort of tricked Schulz into making the special. Mendelsohn was initially working on a documentary about Peanuts comic strips, but no one was interested in purchasing the film. However, CBS was interested in an adaptation. Per New York Magazine, Mendelsohn was desperate after his documentary went unsold. So when the network approached him about doing a holiday special, he told a white lie, saying he and Schulz had already discussed the idea. While the idea of doing so was not something Schulz was interested in, he did agree to work on a story treatment under the direction of Mendelsohn. Schulz, Mendelsohn, and Bill Mendelsohn got to work on the outline, but plenty more problems would soon arise. A Charlie Brown Christmas may be a quintessential classic now, but it wasn't budgeted as one. According to Animation Obsessive, the team was only given $76,000 to produce the special, a minuscule amount when compared to other animated Christmas programs. Over the course of making it, the team would go over budget by a whopping $20,000. Financial troubles were only a part of the problem. The Peanuts characters were not made for animation and proved exceptionally difficult to translate into the new medium. Onomato Bill Littlejohn recalled, "The Peanuts characters were not designed for animation." Disney legend Dale Bear shared his thoughts on the process, saying, "We sit here and draw Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck and characters like that with no problem, but to draw Schulz's characters took a talent unto itself. Many people wouldn't say that, but just let them sit down and try to draw those guys and they'll find out. You feel like you can't draw worth a darn when you work on those characters." Charlie Brown's design proved incredibly challenging due to the shape of his head. USA Today recalls a visit from an executive from McCann Erickson, an advertising company that represented Coca-Cola, who ultimately commissioned the special. Mendelsohn said that, after looking at the rough animation without music, McCann Erickson's representative said, "This isn't very good. I don't know what I'm going to tell the agency. If I tell them what I think, they're going to cancel the show." Mendelsohn was able to convince him to trust the process, but the issues weren't limited to just the animation. As the special got closer to airing, Mendelsohn and Melendez weren't sure the special was going to work. "We thought that it was maybe just too slow and we had failed poor Charlie Brown," Mendelsohn said. CBS wasn't pleased with the special at all. The network complained about the child actors, the music and animation throughout. They agreed to put it on the air but told the creatives that it just doesn't work. Everyone from Mendelsohn to Melendez to Schulz was unhappy with what they had made and were certain it was going to be a failure. Luckily, viewers didn't agree. The special was a ratings smash with half of all Americans tuning in to experience the premiere, and has aired annually ever since it debuted in 1965. Interestingly, the reluctant Schulz didn't look fondly upon it at first. According to his widow, Jean Schulz, he immediately moved forward professionally, focusing on the next thing. They say when an author's written a book, he really doesn't want to talk about it because he's on to the next one, Gene Schulz recalled to USA Today. And that was really the way Charles was. It wasn't until 10, 15, 20 years later that it looked like a classic. That's when he really felt the pride in having been a part of the creation of it. Indeed, Schulz may have been the last to be convinced to make the special, and he may have been the last to accept it, but ultimately, a Charlie Brown Christmas charmed even its most uncertain critic. Turns out the scene is from an unaired 1963 documentary, A Boy Named Charlie Brown at 050. A Charlie Brown Christmas is considered the first Peanuts cartoon, but this documentary predates it by 2 years, and the short Peanuts cartoons made to bring the characters to life are actually the first collaboration of the team that made the specials. Peanuts creator Charles Schulz, producer Lee Mendelson, animator Bill Melendez, and musician Vince Guaraldi. Even many of the kids' voice actors from these documentary scenes are the ones used in A Charlie Brown Christmas. There are a slew of holiday TV and movie characters that everyone seems to love. Buddy the Elf, Frosty the Snowman, and Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer likely come to mind. However, if Charlie Brown, Snoopy, and the rest of the Peanuts gang are some of your all-time favorites, you probably want to know where to watch A Charlie Brown Christmas for free to see the timeless TV special. Lucky for you, it's streaming online, and there's a way to watch it at no cost. A Charlie Brown Christmas is the first TV special based on the comic strip, Peanuts, by Charles M. Schulz. The animated TV special, however, is produced by Lee Mendelson and directed by Bill Melendez. The program premiered on CBS on December 9, 1965, and tells the story of Charlie Brown feeling blue during the holiday season. When his friends finally come around, they help lift Charlie's spirits so that they can all have a cheerful Christmas together. On top of its signature Peanuts illustrations and style, A Charlie Brown Christmas is known for its jazzy songs that make you want to join the characters in dance and celebration. The holiday special has become a classic in its genre and has also inspired others of its kind and even live theatrical versions. Other TV specials featuring Peanuts characters include A Charlie Brown Thanksgiving, It's the Great Pumpkin, Snoopy, Come Home, You're Not Elected, Charlie Brown, and There's No Time for Love, Charlie Brown, among others. If you're in the mood for a Christmas classic, you're likely trying to figure out how you can watch A Charlie Brown Christmas with your friends and family. Keep scrolling to discover where to watch A Charlie Brown Christmas for free to see Charlie and his crew discover the true meaning of Christmas. A Charlie Brown Christmas is available to stream on Apple TV+, which offers a 7-day free trial and costs $9.99 per month after the trial ends. Along with A Charlie Brown Christmas, Apple TV Plus also includes dozens of Apple originals with new content added each month. Apple originals include award-winning comedy and drama series such as Ted Lasso, Severance, The Morning Show, and Bad Sisters, as well as original movies, documentaries, and children's content. The service also offers other Peanuts specials such as A Charlie Brown Thanksgiving, It's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, and Be My Valentine, Charlie Brown. Apple TV Plus additionally allows users to stream on up to 5 devices and download content to watch offline. 1965's A Charlie Brown Christmas was the first animated TV special based on the Peanuts comic strip. It would be followed by additional Peanuts holiday classics like It's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, and A Charlie Brown Thanksgiving, but it set the bar very high. In 1966, A Charlie Brown Christmas won the Emmy for Outstanding Individual Achievement in Children's Programming. Written and created by Charles M. Schulz, A Charlie Brown Christmas is a nostalgic holiday classic that challenges the commercialization of the holiday season, a message that is still relevant today. A Charlie Brown Christmas follows a lost and wistful Charlie Brown, who is struggling to find his holiday spirit as those around him get swept up in the commercialization of Christmas. After he expresses his unshakable sense of sadness and dread, Lucy appoints him the director of the Christmas play to help him feel involved in the holiday festivities. It's only after he chooses the famously small Charlie Brown Christmas tree that the Peanuts gang eventually discovers and showcases the true meaning of Christmas. The special evokes a wide range of emotions in viewers of all ages. For nearly 60 years, A Charlie Brown Christmas has played an integral part in the relationship between Christmas, pop culture, and the public. Designed to educate and entertain both children and adults, The holiday classic is unique in its ability to retain its audience over the years. Despite being a children's program, the Christmas special is not something most people simply grow out of. In fact, viewers typically return home to it every year, as it brings them comfort and familiarity during the busy and chaotic holiday season. Many children who grew up with the special become parents who watch it with their children, allowing the many messages in the special to be passed down through the decades. Peanuts holiday specials offer timeless, family-friendly television that often uses witty comedy. The children characters say adult-like things, like Lucy telling Charlie Brown she wants real estate for Christmas. As family programming, A Charlie Brown Christmas is also a teaching moment for young viewers still trying to figure out what the holiday means. In typical Linus fashion, he begins one of his Hallmark speeches after Charlie Brown asks what Christmas is all about. Linus' character is used as an educational tool to recount the biblical story of Jesus' birth, reminding both the Peanuts gang and the viewers of what Christmas is truly about. It is important to note that the special is Christmas-specific and does not cover any other holidays or religions within the program. The artwork and score are a cornerstone of Peanuts holiday specials and their ability to create and instill feelings of nostalgia in viewers. The opening song, Christmas Time is Here, artistically captures the wistfulness of the holidays, with choir-style vocals and somber piano playing that elicits various emotions. Meanwhile, the entire Peanuts gang dancing to Linus and Lucy on stage evokes joy during the iconic number, which includes dance moves that are frequently referenced to this day. That sequence is a prime example of how the score helps uplift the original comic artwork that was successfully translated into TV animation. The role of music in the special comes to the forefront when Schroeder plays a multitude of songs on the piano for Lucy when she questions the greatness of Beethoven and makes him play various versions of Jingle Bells. The closing number of the cast singing, Hark, the Herald Angels Sing, is the most moving song in the special, leaving viewers on a triumphant note that celebrates Jesus' birth and togetherness to ring in Christmas. Throughout A Charlie Brown Christmas, Charlie Brown rejects the commercialization of Christmas while observing those around him. "Oh no, my own dog gone commercial. I can't stand it," he proclaims at the beginning of the special, when he finds Snoopy decorating his doghouse for a Christmas lights and display contest for a cash prize. Immediately after, Charlie is approached by his little sister Sally, who lists off all the items and money she wants from Santa Claus, upsetting him further. The motif is revealed once again when Lucy shakes her can full of nickels and proclaims how much she loves the sound of money. Unable to relate to all of this, Charlie Brown gets disillusioned by the holiday and starts to question the true meaning of Christmas. The anti-commercialism sentiment comes to a head when Charlie Brown is tasked with picking out the Christmas tree for the play. Linus knocks on an aluminum tree that creates a metal clanking sound, stating that the metal tree really brings Christmas close to a person. Charlie Brown soon stumbles on the famously small tree, where Linus is surprised and asks if they still make wooden Christmas trees. Linus' memorable reaction to the aluminum tree and the real tree is used to emphasize how society is growing so out of touch with the authenticity and traditions of Christmas, to the point that the youth can't even identify a real tree and appreciate its value. Schulz's societal criticisms run through the entire special and can be easily overlooked. Charlie Brown finds the real tree and says the green one needs a home, emphasizing that all the fake aluminum trees in the lot are different colors and do not even look like real trees. Linus warns against it, claiming it does not fit the modern spirit that the special is ultimately trying to reject. Charlie Brown declares he does not care about capturing the modern spirit and sees what no one else can. That love and care would make the tree beautiful. He ultimately ignores all the flashy aluminum trees, which were the popular fad at the time of the special, and opts for the real tree. Its imperfections and small stature make it feel genuine and real. Charlie Brown: "I think there must be something wrong with me, Linus. Christmas is coming, but I'm not happy." A Charlie Brown Christmas successfully captures the wistfulness that blankets the holiday season in an authentic and beautiful way. Charlie Brown's discontent with commercialism exacerbates his feelings of sorrow and loneliness throughout the TV special. Many can relate to the sadness and longing that surfaces during the holidays, causing people to reflect on the holidays of years past as they face another year coming to a close. This period of reflection and togetherness can bring out an array of emotions. which is seen in the Peanuts gang. While it is easy to get swept up in the commercialism and busy pace of the season, the special proves that nothing is more important than supporting and spending time with loved ones. Loved by generations of viewers for decades, A Charlie Brown Christmas remains a timeless Christmas tradition, and its ideas are just as relevant today. The scene where the Peanuts gang bands together to help the small and lonely tree reach its full potential is a striking gesture that fully encapsulates the Christmas spirit and will remain in the memories of everyone who watches the special. With deep and important holiday messages that continue to be effectively conveyed to adults and children alike, A Charlie Brown Christmas is a must-watch every year. 1965's A Charlie Brown Christmas was the first animated TV special based on the Peanuts comic strip. It would be followed by additional Peanuts holiday classics like It's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, and A Charlie Brown Thanksgiving, but it set the bar very high. In 1966, A Charlie Brown Christmas won the Emmy for Outstanding Individual Achievement in Children's Programming. Written and created by Charles M. Schulz, A Charlie Brown Christmas is a nostalgic holiday classic that challenges the commercialization of the holiday season, a message that is still relevant today. A Charlie Brown Christmas follows a lost and wistful Charlie Brown, who is struggling to find his holiday spirit as those around him get swept up in the commercialization of Christmas. After he expresses his unshakable sense of sadness and dread, Lucy appoints him the director of the Christmas play to help him feel involved in the holiday festivities. It's only after he chooses the famously small Charlie Brown Christmas tree that the Peanuts gang eventually discovers and showcases the true meaning of Christmas. For nearly 60 years, A Charlie Brown Christmas has played an integral part in the relationship between Christmas, pop culture, and the public. Designed to educate and entertain both children and adults, the holiday classic is unique in its ability to retain its audience over the years. Despite being a children's program, the Christmas special is not something most people simply grow out of. In fact, viewers typically return home to it every year, as it brings them comfort and familiarity during the busy and chaotic holiday season. Many children who grew up with the special become parents who watch it with their children, allowing the many messages in the special to be passed down through the decades. Peanuts holiday specials offer timeless, family-friendly television that often uses witty comedy. The children characters say adult-like things, like Lucy telling Charlie Brown she wants real estate for Christmas. As family programming, A Charlie Brown Christmas is also a teaching moment for young viewers still trying to figure out what the holiday means. In typical Linus fashion, he begins one of his hallmark speeches after Charlie Brown asks what Christmas is all about. Linus' character is used as an educational tool to recount the biblical story of Jesus' birth, reminding both the Peanuts gang and the viewers of what Christmas is truly about. It is important to note that the special is Christmas-specific and does not cover any other holidays or religions within the program. With Christmas on the horizon, Peanuts fans everywhere are revisiting the spectacular holiday comics from Charles M. Schulz's beloved series. The artwork and score are a cornerstone of Peanuts holiday specials and their ability to create and instill feelings of nostalgia in viewers. The opening song, Christmas Time is Here, artistically captures the wistfulness of the holidays, with choir-style vocals and somber piano playing that elicits various emotions. Meanwhile, the entire Peanuts gang dancing to Linus and Lucy on stage evokes joy during the iconic number, which includes dance moves that are frequently referenced to this day. That sequence is a prime example of how the score helps uplift the original comic artwork that was successfully translated into TV animation. The role of music in the special comes to the forefront when Schroeder plays a multitude of songs on the piano for Lucy when she questions the greatness of Beethoven and makes him play various versions of Jingle Bells. The closing number of the cast singing, Hark, the Herald Angels Sing, is the most moving song in the special, leaving viewers on a triumphant note that celebrates Jesus' birth and togetherness to ring in Christmas. Throughout A Charlie Brown Christmas, Charlie Brown rejects the commercialization of Christmas while observing those around him. "Oh no, my own dog gone commercial. I can't stand it," he proclaims at the beginning of the special, when he finds Snoopy decorating his doghouse for a Christmas lights and display contest for a cash prize. Immediately after, Charlie is approached by his little sister Sally, who lists off all the items and money she wants from Santa Claus, upsetting him further. The motif is revealed once again when Lucy shakes her can full of nickels and proclaims how much she loves the sound of money. Unable to relate to all of this, Charlie Brown gets disillusioned by the holiday and starts to question the true meaning of Christmas. The anti-commercialism sentiment comes to a head when Charlie Brown is tasked with picking out the Christmas tree for the play. Linus knocks on an aluminum tree that creates a metal clanking sound, stating that the metal tree really brings Christmas close to a person. Charlie Brown soon stumbles on the famously small tree, where Linus is surprised and asks if they still make wooden Christmas trees. Linus' memorable reaction to the aluminum tree and the real tree is used to emphasize how society is growing so out of touch with the authenticity and traditions of Christmas, to the point that the youth can't even identify a real tree and appreciate its value. Schulz's societal criticisms run through the entire special and can be easily overlooked. Charlie Brown finds the real tree and says the green one needs a home, emphasizing that all the fake aluminum trees in the lot are different colors and do not even look like real trees. Linus warns against it, claiming it does not fit the modern spirit that the special is ultimately trying to reject. Charlie Brown declares he does not care about capturing the modern spirit and sees what no one else can, that love and care would make the tree beautiful. He ultimately ignores all the flashy aluminum trees, which were the popular fad at the time of the special, and opts for the real tree. Its imperfections and small stature make it feel genuine and real. Charlie Brown: I think there must be something wrong with me, Linus. Christmas is coming, but I'm not happy. A Charlie Brown Christmas successfully captures the wistfulness that blankets the holiday season in an authentic and beautiful way. Charlie Brown's discontent with commercialism exacerbates his feelings of sorrow and loneliness throughout the TV special. Many can relate to the sadness and longing that surfaces during the holidays, causing people to reflect on the holidays of years past as they face another year coming to a close. This period of reflection and togetherness can bring out an array of emotions, which is seen in the Peanuts gang. While it is easy to get swept up in the commercialism and busy pace of the season, the special proves that nothing is more important than supporting and spending time with loved ones. Loved by generations of viewers for decades, A Charlie Brown Christmas remains a timeless Christmas tradition, and its ideas are just as relevant today. The scene where the Peanuts gang bands together to help the small and lonely tree reach its full potential is a striking gesture that fully encapsulates the Christmas spirit and will remain in the memories of everyone who watches the special. With deep and important holiday messages that continue to be effectively conveyed to adults and children alike, A Charlie Brown Christmas is a must-watch every year. Though A Charlie Brown Christmas has become a holiday classic, it was originally uncertain it would ever be a success. Before the special, the Peanuts characters had only ever appeared in comic strips and several short advertisements. The special was created in 1965 after being commissioned by Coca-Cola. Since then, it has lost its commercial quality, making A Charlie Brown Christmas a classic for audiences of all ages. The special centers around the melancholic but relatable Charlie Brown as he searches for the meaning of Christmas. He and his other Peanuts friends explore mature themes, all intercut with scenes of holiday activity and even the occasional Bible verse. Though the special has become an American classic and set a television precedent, there are many little-known facts about A Charlie Brown Christmas, including its rocky development before its release. When A Charlie Brown Christmas was first commissioned in 1965, it only had a week of development. The creation of the special was originally sponsored by Coca-Cola, who wanted to capitalize on the success of Charles M. Schulz's Peanuts comic strips. Reportedly, the concept was developed in one afternoon, with the rest of the special being created in only 6 months. Everyone on the team, including the director Bill Melendez, was skeptical the work could be completed in time but persisted anyway. After the work was completed but before its official premiere, Melendez still thought the special was a failure. After the work was completed but before its official premiere, Melendez still thought the special was a failure. This fear was amplified by the film's unusual tone and music, as well as the untrained child actors voicing the characters, which producers and the network thought the video seemed unprofessional. The special was originally only going to air once to fulfill the contractual obligation with Coca-Cola. However, the special aired on CBS to an estimated 15.5 million homes, many of whom found comfort in the comic strip brought to life. Its enduring themes paved the way for the Peanuts franchise. The Peanuts gang dancing from the iconic Charlie Brown Christmas special scene. A Charlie Brown Christmas set a precedent for half-hour animated holiday specials. This included How the Grinch Stole Christmas, The Following Year, and Frosty the Snowman. Previous to this, Christmas specials were typically an hour long. The short and palatable special has become a staple on many audiences' holiday watch lists due to its enduring themes and lovable characters. The special also won an Emmy Award for Outstanding Children's Program in 1966 and a Peabody Award. Not only did A Charlie Brown Christmas help the holiday genre, but the special paved the way for many other Peanuts television films. In their first official non-commercial animated appearance, A Charlie Brown Christmas established the franchise's style and themes, as well as its iconic vocals and musical score. With over 40 other television films, the Peanuts world was developed, becoming more widely known and beloved among audiences. Almost 6 decades since A Charlie Brown Christmas premiere, it is still considered a holiday classic. This film, directed by Bill Melendez, voices of Peter Robbins, Christopher Shea, Kathy Steinberg, Tracy Stratford, Bill Melendez, and Altieri, Chris Doran, Sally Dreyer, Karen Mendelsohn, Jeffrey Ornstein. Theme music composer, Vince Guaraldi. Opening theme, Christmas Time Is Here. Ending theme, Hark, the Herald Angels Sing. Composer, Vince Guaraldi. Country of origin, United States. Original language, English. Production, executive producer, Lee Mendelsohn. Producer, Bill Melendez. Editor, Robert T. Gillis. Running time, 25 minutes. Production companies, Lee Mendelsohn Film Productions, Bill Melendez Productions. Budget $76,000 to $96,000. Hey everyone, here's the A Charlie Brown Christmas and some background info on it. What is your opinion on our video today? Leave a comment to let us know. If you enjoyed the video, remember to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Thank you for tuning in. And gather around the small tree. Charlie Brown is shown wearing shorts while looking at the snowfall at his house window before putting on his coat. When he leaves his house, he's wearing pants or probably changed off-screen. It's hard to imagine a holiday season without A Charlie Brown Christmas. The 1965 broadcast has become a staple, etched into traditions across generations like decorating the tree or sipping hot cocoa. But this beloved TV special almost didn't make it to air. CBS executives thought the 25-minute program was too slow, too serious, and too different from the upbeat spectacles they imagined audiences wanted. A cartoon about a depressed kid seeking psychiatric advice? No laugh track? Humble, lo-fi animation, and yet, against all the odds, it became a classic. The program turned Peanuts from a popular comic strip into a multimedia empire, not because it was flashy or followed the rules, but because it was sincere. As a business professor who has studied the Peanuts franchise, I see A Charlie Brown Christmas as a fascinating historical moment. It's the true story of an unassuming comic strip character who crossed over into television and managed to voice hefty, thought-provoking ideas without getting booted off the air. The Peanuts special came together out of a last-minute scramble. Somewhat out of the blue, producer Lee Mendelsohn got a call from advertising agency McCann Erickson. Coca-Cola wanted to sponsor an animated Christmas special. Mendelsohn had previously failed to convince the agency to sponsor a Peanuts documentary. This time, though, he assured McCann Erickson that the characters would be a perfect fit. Understand how AI is changing society. Mendelsohn called up Peanuts comic strip creator Charles Sparky Schulz and told him he had just sold A Charlie Brown Christmas, and they would have mere months to write, animate, and bring the special to air. A black and white photo of a man in a white suit and dark tie, seated at a drawing table with a cartoon of a boy in front of him. For unto you is born this day in the city of David a Savior, which is Christ the Lord. Leave it to Linus to deliver the true meaning of Christmas. Glory to God in the highest, and on earth peace, goodwill toward men. He concludes, picking up his security blanket and walking into the wings. The rest of the gang soon concludes Charlie Brown's scrawny tree isn't so bad. After all, it just needs a little love. When Schulz discussed this idea with Mendelsohn and Melendez, they were hesitant. For much of U.S. history, Protestant Christianity was the default in American culture. But in the years since World War II, society had grown somewhat more mindful of making room for Catholic and Jewish Americans. Unsure how to handle the shifting norms, many mainstream entertainment companies in the 1960s tended to avoid religious topics. "The Bible thing scares us," CBS executives said when they saw the proofs of the special. But there was simply no time to redo the entire dramatic arc of the special, and pulling it was not an option, given that advertisements had already run. Fortunately for the Peanuts franchise, when the special aired on December 9, 1965, it was an instant success. Nearly half of American households tuned in, and the program won both an Emmy and a Peabody Award. Schulz had tapped into something audiences were craving: an honest, heartfelt message that cut through the commercialism. A black and white photo of children on stage, many of them standing on chorus risers. Students at the school in Denver put on their own production of the Peanuts Christmas special in 1966. Denver Post via Getty Images. Millions of viewers have continued to tune in to the show's annual rebroadcast for over 50 years on CBS and then ABC, and now Apple TV+. When I was researching my spiritual biography of Schulz, A Charlie Brown Religion, one of my favorite finds was a 1965 letter from a Florida viewer, Betty Knorr. She praised the show for stressing the true meaning of the Christmas season at a time when the mention of God in general is being hush-hushed. The magic of Schulz's work, though, is that it resonates across demographics and ideologies. Some fans find comfort in the show's gentle message of faith, while others embrace it in a purely secular way. Simple but poignant, Schulz's art and gentle humor can do two things. They can act as safe entry points for some pretty hefty thoughts, be they psychiatric, cultural, or theological. Or Peanuts cartoons can simply be heartwarming, festive entertainment, if that's what you want. Today, both the Peanuts empire and the Christmas industry are thriving. Back in the 1960s, commercial realities almost derailed Schulz's special, yet those same forces ultimately ensured its broadcast. The result is a lasting touchstone of innocence, hope, and belief. The brains behind a Peanuts tribute book called me several years back with an inspiring request. Would I be interested in picking an object from the life and art of Charles M. Sparky Schulz and penning a reflective insight for their work in progress? I said yes, as my mind immediately went to one collection: the beautiful animation cells from A Charlie Brown Christmas, because from concept to glorious completion, so much about that soulful and spiritual holiday classic resonates as an act of faith. Schulz, the man who birthed the lovably hard-luck Charlie Brown, was known to have wrestled with self-doubt. Yet when it came to taking the reins of A Charlie Brown Christmas in 1965, the Peanuts creator was a thinker of unwavering confidence and cool-headed belief. His longtime screen collaborator and late producer Lee Mendelson, who wrote the lyrics to Vince Guaraldi's jazzy "Christmas Time Is Here," used to tell me. Foremost among the decisions Schulz made with conviction was to quote scripture in his script. If he was going to make a December special, Schulz, who had regularly attended and then taught Bible study groups, first with a Church of God community in his native Minnesota, then at a Methodist church in Sebastopol, California, was going to mention the reason for the season. It bears underscoring that this was no low-key statement to make in the 60s. During that decade, not even 9% of Christmas episodes and specials contained any substantive reference to religion, according to A Charlie Brown Religion by scholar Stephen J. Lind. Mendelson reminded me more than once that he and the third member of their leadership team, the animator Bill Melendez, initially felt very uneasy about the show's animated characters quoting from the gospel, with the two men even asking Schulz, "Are you sure you want to do this? Would this sink the show?" Yet the Peanuts creator offered a clarion reply: "If we don't do it, who will?" Even when network executives considered cutting such a soliloquy, Schulz stuck to his belief that this special needed to be about something to make it worth airing, and his something was to dramatize the question: what is the true meaning of Christmas? Many on the production team felt uneasy about the show's animated characters quoting from the gospel, worried that it would sink the show. But Charles M. Schulz offered a clarion reply: "If we don't do it, who will?" Because of his strong sense of mission, who had attended many a school pageant as a father of 5, scripted the pivotal biblical scene. Amid a sea of neon holiday commercialism, the beleaguered and melancholic Charlie Brown seeks answers while trying to shepherd a stage production, saying with an emotional build, "I shouldn't have picked this little tree. Everything I do turns into a disaster. I guess I don't really know what Christmas is all about." Isn't there anyone who knows what Christmas is all about? Ever wise beyond his years, the blanket-toting Linus Van Pelt, memorably voiced by child actor Christopher Shea, steps up to a center spotlight and speaks from the Book of Luke,